Hello guys, and welcome back to another tutorial. Welcome back to the same workshop. In today's video, I'll be taking you guys through the process of making a double-breasted shirt. I already did the cutting aspect, and this entire video is going to be the sewing aspect of this step by step. So all you have to do for me is just to give the video a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to the channel if you are yet to subscribe. Almost 60% of you guys that watch my video are yet to subscribe. Why have you not subscribed? I give you guys the best and the best of tutorials. The best and the best. I try my possible best to make sure it is well detailed and understandable. So without further ado, let's get straight into the tutorial. Make sure, if you are so adamant on not subscribing, I don't know what you want me to do. Just smash the subscribe button and turn on the bell notification to get notified when I upload new video. So let's get straight into the video. This is a double-breasted shirt, not a suit. A suit will be part of my intensive class. A link in the description below. So right now, this is where we are so far. I already make the video of the cutting aspect. In case you haven't seen that, just go ahead and check it. So now in the video, I show you guys the folding aspect. So now, based on the normal folding of this lapel, it has to actually fold all the way to the end of the neck circumference. You can see that it has to fold all the way to the end of the neck circumference. So whatever we are using as our facing in the front, it has to actually reach the shoulder area. I hope you guys understand that. So I'm going to cut that step by step here so that you're going to understand the process of doing that. So make sure you're working with the right and you understand the right and the wrong side of your fabric. So I'm going to place this right here. This is the fabric I'll be using to cut out the facing of the front that will reach to the lapel area. So let me fold this up just like this. Make sure it's arranged very well. You see that? I'm going to mark, let me just mark so that you're going to understand I'm working with the wrong side of the fabric. So now I'm going to place this above. This is my front panel. These are the double front panel. I'm going to place it above the fabric. You can see that. I'm going to place it above the fabric. You can see it's actually covered the entire neck circumference. You guys can see that it's actually covered the entire neck circumference. So I'm going to simply align it very well and I'm going to cut it straight. Just like this. You can see what I'm doing. Let me layer the down part very well. I'm going to take you guys through the process of this step by step. I'm not going to omit any part because it is very, very important. And the collar aspect is actually the most important part. So you guys have to pay attention and make sure you did not jump this video. If you jump, you might miss the most important part. So I'm going to cut this all the way down. You can see that. And also the neck area, I'm going to also cut that place all the way down. You can see that. See that? And also the tip part area, I'm going to simply cut that part out. See what I have? So now if I open this down, you can see what I have. The neck has to be exactly. So the extension, so that we are going to have something to fold like this, that will cover our inside. You understand that we cover the inside of the outfit itself. So from this corner right here, I'm going to make a trim. I'm just going to make a slant so that the front panel that's going to overlap is not going to be too thick. That's the reason why I have to like cut out of that part. So this is what we're going to be using for our facing, our front facing. The total wideness of this now is almost 6.5 inches. It has to cover the entire neck itself. So you guys can see that. So this is what we're going to be having. See that? You can see. So after that is done, the next thing you're going to do is to fold everything together, right? Fold everything together till the exact place in which your lapel is supposed to be. You can see what I'm doing. Pay attention to my hand and my voice. So fold it backward just like this, and that corner aspect, right? I'm going to make a notch at that place. That's where our stitch is going to end. This part is very vital, right? You can see that particular notch that I just made right now. That's where our stitch is going to end. You can see that at that particular point, that's where the stitch is going to end. So now after that is done, the next thing we're going to do now is to basically stitch all the facing to the bodice itself. So this is my bodice, this is my facing, sorry. So from that wrong part of the facing is 2, you cut 2 together, I'm going to fold these edges. You can see, just use your iron to just fold it all the way down, and also fold the second one. So let me do that. Then we go into the sewing machine and we're going to sew this to the bodice itself and end at that place in which we make our notch. That's where we're going to end the stitch. So after folding, you see what I have here. See what I have. So after folding, I'm going to take a piece of one of the frontal panel. You can see that. Make sure you're working with the right side. So the right side is going to be facing the right side, just like this. Just like this. So I'm going to make a stitch all the way down to the top of the neck. That place in which we make our notch, that's where we're going to end our stitch. So I'm going to do the 2. Let me go and stitch the 2 and come back so we can continue. So now after stitching it, you see what I have here. This is a stitch. I end the stitch exactly at that tip, at that place in which we make our notch, and also all the way down. You see that? And I did the same thing on the second panel too, which is the second front. You can see that. So next thing I will be doing now is iron this. I'm going to pinpoint those edges, and I'm going to have my lapel looking straight and the front also looking straight. So let me iron it, then we're going to the next stage. So after ironing, you see what I have here. This is what it's going to look like. You can see how flat it looks. You can see that. This is how flat it's going to look. So if I fold this up, if I fold the lapel, the accurate way in which the lapel is supposed to be, you can see that we have no obvious stitch in the front area. You can see that. This is how it is going to look like. You can see that. I'm trying to take you guys to the front and come back again so that you're going to understand what I am doing. So this is the second one as well. You can see this is the second one as well. So after this, the next thing we are going to do before we do the collar finishing is to basically do our back. So on our back, I already do the shadow facing and the label. So I already did a video on this, so a link will be in the description below to go and watch how to do that. After that is done, the next thing we're going to do is to join our shoulder. So now to join the shoulder, you're just going to join the shoulder alone and leave the front facing separately. Join the shoulder alone and leave the front facing separately. So after joining the shoulder, this is what I'm going to be having. See here. And also the shoulder we join, we are going to weave that edge so it won't be obvious. So this is exactly what we are going to be having. You see that? So that's where that place in which we make our notch, right? The next thing we're going to do now is to measure from that notch to the other notch. That's the exact measurement of our collar. So right now, just take your tape and just measure from that particular notch in which you make, from the notch to the second notch. You can see all the way to the second notch. Just measure it round like this. You can see that. So here I have 14 1/4, 14 1/4 of an inch, 14 1/4. That's the exact collar circumference that we are going to be cutting. So without further ado, let's cut the collar and do the stitching. So this is the interfacing that I'll be using for my collar. So now I'm using this because the collar doesn't have to be too strong, because we want it to relax on our back. If you're using a collar stay, it's going to stand and it's not going to relax as much as we want it to relax. So now the next thing we're going to do now is our 14 1/4 of an inch. We're going to basically divide it by 2, which is going to give us 7.1. You can see that. Just going to basically measure my 7.1 right here. I'm going to leave some allowance in the front before measuring my 7.1. So here 7.1, just measure that. That's before 1/4, 1/7. If you have seen my how to read measurement tape, you will understand how I calculate my own measurement. So now after getting that, the next thing, I'm just going to trim out this part out. So the collar we are cutting is even just a rough hand collar cutting. So here you can see here, just make a straight line. So now at this edge, at this down part, we are supposed to make a curve in order to make the collar come straight. So I will be taking out 1/2 inch from this area. You can see that. From that 1/2 inch, the total wideness of our collar is going to be at 3 inches. I'm going to mark 3 inches from the toe edge. Here also I'll mark my 3 inches, and here also I'll mark my 3 inches. Or you can simply just follow the total wideness of the lapel that we fold backward. You're going to use that, but here I want the collar to be smaller a little bit to the lapel. The lapel is 3.5 inches. So I'm going to connect these two together. My pen is not writing. Okay, so I'm going to connect these two together. So after that is done, the next thing I'm going to do now is to make a cuff at this area. Just like this. Just follow up my hand. Just a rough sketch for a collar. You can see what I'm doing here. My pen is, maybe you guys should just buy me a pen. I couldn't get the place to get a pen. It's crazy. Not my pen, I'm just messing up. So here, just make a cuff. So now from this top part, I'm going to go outside a little bit by 1/2 inch. You can see that. So from that 1/2 inch, I'm going to connect to the cuff, which we did first. You can see that. After that is done, I'm going to basically cut the collar from that part. That will be the side that we are going to attach to our neck. You can see that. To cut it straight all the way to the top. You see that. And also at this place, I want the back collar to actually relax a little bit. So I don't want it to be up to that height of the front panel. So I'm going to take out 1/2 inch from that part. So from that 1/2 inch, I'm going to slant the collar all the way to the tip part here. I believe you guys are seeing what I'm doing. There's no magic, just a little bit of cuff. You can see that. And I'm basically going to cut it out. It's as simple as A, B, and C. So this is what our collar is going to look like. Exactly this. This is what our collar will look like. You can see that. That's what the collar. So here is the piece of fabric I'll be using. So make sure you're working with the wrong side of the fabric. So I'm just going to place my collar on top of it, just like this. And I'll be using the gummy part of the collar. Just face it to the fabric. You can see that. Face it to the fabric. Make sure you leave a space at the end part, something that we are going to fold up. I'm just going to iron it. You can see that. That's what I have. So after ironing, I'm going to trim it out a little bit. Just leave like 1/2 inch at that edge. You can see. Just leave it. So here also, I'm going to trim it out. And from that edge, I'm just going to cut it straight. See that? So we are going to have something to fold. That's why I had to just cut that place straight. So after that is done, the next thing we're going to do now is to fold this edge. This edge part, I'm going to basically fold it inside. So what I'm doing. Just iron it down inside. You see that? And also here. Iron it down. You see how relaxed it is. So make sure you iron all of the sides. And also here, give it a thorough ironing. Make sure it as relaxed as possible. See that? So after that is done, the next thing you're going to do now is to fold the collar backward, just like this. Then I'll take it to the sewing machine and I'm going to run a stitch all the way from this side straight up. Then I'm going to come back like this and all the way down. I'm going to lock it, then we can do our turn up. So let me go and do the stitching and do the turn up. So this is what we're going to be having after stitching. You can see here. So all I have to do now is just to trim the excess on the sides. Trim the excess on the side of the collar. And also from the tip, trim out the excess. You can see that. So after trimming out all the excess, you're going to do the turn up for the collar. This is everything after trimming it out. I'm going to do the turn up. Just turn it up and make sure you pinpoint all of the edges and give it a good ironing. You can see that, pinpoint it and give it ironing. So this is what we're going to be having after that. You see that? So after that is done, the next thing is to basically trim this part out. You can see that. Leave a little bit of like a 1/4 of an inch that we're going to sew to the fabric. Leave it out just like this. See that? Just make sure you leave a 1/4 of an inch that you're going to sew to the fabric. So after that is done, so to our bodice, I already fold this together. So this is our main bodice. You see our lapel, you see how relaxed it is. The next thing we're going to do now is to basically open this. We're going to start our stitch. So okay, here I folded this at a total of 13.5 inches, and also the inside is going to be the same thing, 13.5 inches. You can see that. Depending on how open you want the chest to be, that's what you're going to open. So you guys can see that. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to basically, at this edge, I'm going to fold it together and get a center point. Get a center point for my collar. I'm going to make a notch at this place. See that? And also here, just open the lapel together and get a center point for your collar also. So right here is my center point. You can see that. And I'm also going to make a notch at this place as well. You see that? So after that is done, from this back right here, from the center point, I'm going to make a stitch. Just place your collar from the center point like this. You can see that. And I'm going to make a stitch all the way around the neck, and I'm going to end at that notch, at the first notch under our lapel, right? This is the most important part, so I believe you guys are paying attention, so you're going to understand how this is done. So I'm going to get to the under part of the lapel. You can see that the collar actually reached that exact place in which we make our notch. That's where our stitch is going to stop. Then after that is done, we're going to place this inside of the collar. Pay attention to what I'm doing. Let me take this to the sewing machine and do this first. Then I'm going to show you the closing aspect. That's the most important part. So make sure you give the video a thumbs up. So here, make sure you give the video a thumbs up. So far, this is where we are. I already stitched it all the way to the notch. You can see what I have. See that? So now what I'm going to do now is very important. So give the video a thumbs up first before you see this closing. This is the most important part. So now to close the collar area, all you have to do is simple. Just place this. Make sure that you align this very well and just place this inside of the collar. You see that? Just inside of the collar itself. You see what I have here? Make sure it is relaxed. You see that place? See that? Just place it inside of the collar, just like this. There's another way I can do this that will not have any stitch at all, but that will be part of my intensive class. But this is actually the most easy way you guys can do this, so I believe you're going to love the results you will get. So place this inside, and also the other side, place it inside and just run a stitch all the way around. You can see what I'm getting here. You can see that, just like this. You see what I have? You're going to run a stitch, and also here as well, place this inside of the collar and run a stitch. Make sure the stitch is as tiny and closer to the edge as possible. So let me take this to the sewing machine and do the stitch and show you guys the final results. Then we can do the hemming of the chest and the sleeve, and that is all. Let me go ahead and do the stitching and show you guys the final results right here. So this is what you're going to be having. You can see that. You can see the closing. You can see the closing of the collar. So if you fold this backward, it will never show any folding at that corner. So let me iron this and fold this backward, and you guys are going to see the final result. It's actually very simple. So this is how to make a vintage collar for a suit, like a double-breasted suit, or even if it's just a vintage shirt. So far this is what you're going to be having. Iron this collar first. Make sure the collar is relaxed. Iron it first. And basically just fold this backward like this. And also here, fold the collar backward. Make sure you get the gaiters at exactly where it's supposed to be. You can see that. You can see that here. Just like this. Make sure the gaiters is exactly where it's supposed to be. Arrange your collar very well. You can see that. So from this angle right here, you can see what I have, how smooth that place is looking. just give it a thorough ironing. A steam iron is very preferable at this corner. A steam iron, or sprinkle some water on your fabric and give it a thorough ironing. So after that is done, this is what we are going to be having. You see this? This is very, this is how clean your, if you can actually make this as exactly the same size as your collar. You can see the lapel is a little bit wider than the collar, right? Depending on the size in which you want, you can make it. So this is the final result. The last thing you're going to do now is just to place your hemming gum at this under part. Just use your hemming gum to close that part up. It's actually very simple. Just put an hemming gum underneath that opening, right? The folding in which we did before. Place some hemming gum under it and simply iron it down. And simply join your sleeve. And after that is done, this will be our final result. I already joined my sleeve. Give it a thorough ironing. All I have to do now is just to put the button in the front, and that will be all. If you like the video, make sure you guys give the video a thumbs up, and make sure you subscribe to the channel if you are yet to subscribe to the channel. There are a couple of videos on the screen right now that I handedly pick for you guys. I single-handedly pick this for you guys, so you watch it next, and let's get into the next video.